Okay, so you're in your 20s and 30s. First, let's kind of set the scene. Tell me about things going around you, popular music, movies, sports, entertainment, fads, clothing. What kind of give me a sense for?
Well, in my 20s and 30s, I was married, so those things didn't really affect me that much.
Okay.
The music was all teenage music,
Uh-huh.
and then it kind of became in the background. Wasn't
Okay.
that.
How about the historical things going on at the time? What was going on during your 20s and 30s in the world around you?
It was after the war, and sorry. Dad had graduated from law school. We came back over here to live, and he went to work for his dad, and I went to work as the secretary at the college. And before that, we had had one miscarriage while we were in Tucson. And so we still didn't have any children. And during that year, he was questioning whether he really wanted to do the law business. And I worked that 1 year at the college, and then his Aunt Nellie Lee died. And the college asked me if I would come and take her job. She was the registrar and dean of women. So the next year, that's what I did. I don't remember doing anything. I don't think I was useful to the college at all. But there I was. And so then he had said to his dad he really didn't like the law business. And his dad offered to help him get a farm in Gilbert. My brother Gerald was already down there, and I guess he checked out possibilities. And so by this was the beginning of 1952, we'd been married 4 years, no children. And actually, it seems like almost everybody should have 2 to 4 years without children, because it's just an extended honeymoon. You don't have any problems or troubles or anything bad. And so it was a good time for us. And at the end of 1951, we had decided, well, if we're not going to have any children, we better start adopting. So we got the adoption papers and were ready to fill them out, and found that I was pregnant. So we moved to Gilbert in January 1952, and Jane was born in July that year. So that was the end of the honeymoon.
Tell me more about Dad was showing me a picture on your refrigerator of you working somewhere. Where was that? Tell me about
that. That was secretary to the president of the college.
Okay.
And that was the president of the college was President Harless.
Go ahead.
Never mind.
There's a big machine in the background of the picture.
Well, I guess that's the telephone connection thing. You had to plug it into somebody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And did they give you training on that? How did you figure that out? I mean, it looks so foreign to me.
I know. I don't know. I guess I figured it out or something. And there were only 3 employees besides the teachers and President Harless at the college. There was me and Mrs. What's-her-name, who was the business office manager, and Kenneth Lake, who was the business manager and took care of the financial stuff. That's all there was. And so it was a pretty simple thing at that time. And now, my gosh, government's involved, so much red tape, ridiculous.
Did you go to college?
I went to 1 year at EA, and the next semester I went to university in Tucson because Dad was down there, and I went 1 semester, lived in the home ec dorm. There were 35 of us girls there. One other Mormon girl. Her name was Floy Stradling. She was a crippled girl, like she'd had, what's the one they used to have that got you crippled?
Polio?
Polio. I think she had polio. But she was already married. And anyway, so I lived in that dorm. We often babysat for Uncle Ralph and Aunt Villette with their 3 boys. That would be Edward and Henry and Teddy. I guess Henry's the oldest. Henry, Edward, and Teddy. So we babysat for them sometimes. I don't know where they went.
What did you study in college?
Well, this was one of my stupid disappointments. I didn't know I had 4 years. I could have graduated from university. But I took funny little things like furniture refinishing, 2 or 3 art classes. That was it. Just fooled around. I had a little job, and I can't remember where it was, what I did. Maybe in the bookstore. Can't remember.
So you went to 4 years of college?
I went to...
3?
Actually... well, I don't know if you could even call it a half a year at the university because I took little insignificant classes. Well, I took a literature class as well as those others.
That still counts.
Yeah. I probably had 2 years of college altogether, but I didn't lock in an AA degree.
So yeah.
I could have done the whole thing.
You had 2 years at EA.
Had 1 year at EA.
1 year at EA.
And probably another 2 semesters altogether at university.
So you took classes that interested you?
Yeah. Underwater basket weaving, things like that. I took...
Did you really?
No. I had to take an art anatomy class. That was very fascinating. We had to learn all the bones and muscles of the body. And then I took a life drawing class and another oil class. Took several different ones at different times. And in the life drawing class, we drew nudes.
Yep.
People that came in and with a robe on and took the robe off, and we drew them. But it was all no hanky-panky, no tittering, nothing. It was just, we all just did that.
So you were focused on
yeah.
the art and drawing.
Because the prerequisite to that class was the anatomy class.
Right.
So then we were able to do that. And one day we had a young man to come and pose for us. The women didn't wear anything, but the young man had a, what do you call it, on? Athletic supporter on.
Oh, okay.
And but he was one of the gymnastics people at the university, so he was well muscled and very beautiful. But one day, Dad and I were walking down the sidewalk, and he came toward us fully dressed, and I was so embarrassed. I hoped he didn't recognize me, although I recognized him. It was so funny. One of the things that impressed me with that was that one of our models was a gray-haired lady. She must have been 55 or 60, which I thought was old. But her body was just as smooth and pretty as a young person. That was interesting to me.
Yeah.
I thought it wouldn't be.
She must have taken care of herself.
Yeah, but we had young female models, and the older one and men. It was a really good, really fun class.
What did you like about that class and art in general?
Well, I'd always loved to draw, and so it was very enjoyable. Those were 3-hour labs for the most part in the afternoon.
Have you thought about what is enjoyable, what makes it enjoyable to you? What you get out of it?
Well, I am not a creative person. I'm a copyist. And so when I can make it look like the real thing, that's enjoyable to me. I didn't do any caricatures.
Mm-hmm.
Just straight copy.
Although I saw a couple of cowboy
Well, those
drawings.
were also copies.
Oh, they are?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And that was done when I was still in high school.
Okay. Okay.
The horse drawings, after I drew them and got married, I didn't know what happened to them. But when Aunt Lida sold her ranch 3 or 4 years ago, and she she sold everything at an estate sale. She sold the house and the contents, the dishes, the furniture, everything, because she was just going to move down here into an assisted living place, and she couldn't bring anything with her. And one of our relatives, a cousin of mine, went to the sale, and those pictures were in the sale, so he got them back. I can't remember who it was.
Nice.
Yeah, that was funny. I guess Mom gave it to her at some point. But, you know, as I look at them now, they're very amateurish. That part's embarrassing.
How old were you when you did that?
Well, 17, but still. They weren't
Yeah.
as good as other things I did at 17.
Okay. It's not uncommon to have your skills progress.
Yeah,
Yeah.
should.
So, in addition to the art classes, which other classes did you enjoy the most?
I took a furniture refinishing class that was kind of fun. Figured out how to... we had a table that we had in our apartment, and I refinished it. Made it really nice, but it's gone. And the literature class, I was not prepared for it. And I never went back to see what my grade was because I was very unconfident in the class. So much of it was the background I should have had in high school on how to interpret poetry and things.
Yeah.
You know, the forms of it. And so when on the test it said, what does this make you think of or feel? I didn't know what to put.
Yeah, because normally you just read for enjoyment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't. And when I would read some of Dallin's stuff here that he was supposed when he was in high school, that he was supposed to analyze. Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Something I had no idea how to do. So I know they're doing better.
So, did you have plans for after college? When you were in college, what were you thinking in terms of, I'm going to use this for...
I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. I thought then I got to do a business secretary kind of thing, so that's what I took.
Okay. Tell me about your friends during college.
Well, some of them were the same ones I had in high school because we all went to the same college. But also, some new friends came in from other places, and that was kind of fun. Although we didn't really form a group, we were just part of the class. And so there were several girls, while we were at the temple, they came and we met and had lunch at the temple home. Can you remember who they were? It was a set of twins. There was a girl named Monita. I think Monita. I can't remember their names. But yeah, we made other friends at college. And that's where where Mary Alice and Carol Ellsworth became our friends. So it was kind of nice.
Tell me about the transportation you had. How did you get around, and how much did it cost?
Family car. Just whenever it was available and I needed it.
That was when you were here at EA.
Yeah.
And what was this was in the early 50s?
Mm-hmm.
Late 40s?
You want to know how much gas was?
I don't know, whatever you remember.
I have no idea.
No.
While we were in college, there was one thing that was fun. Ted Lee, who was neighbor next door, and Lee Allen, who was also a good friend. Who else? They fixed up a funny old thing called the Sackmobile. And it had, the back seat was raised up. It was open. And the back seat was raised up a little higher than the front seat. It had antlers on the front. I mean, it was a typical teenage car, and it was kind of fun because I got to go in that sometimes.
What did you do with your free time during college?
Can't remember.
Okay. Did you do any sports or other physical activities?
Oh, played baseball, archery in college. It was fun.
Those organized things, or just kind of...
Well, archery was a class, and the baseball, was it just a class? I can't remember whether we played other teams or what. Vague, it's vague.
Mm-hmm. What was new in that part of your life? What seemed like, okay, this is...
Well, it was so wonderful, given my obsession about boys, that when I went to college, that all those boys from all over the state who had been at war came to the college. And so the ratio must have been at least 5 boys to 1 girl. It's different now. But that was kind of fun. But a lot of the people that were there were not people that I could date. They were people that I knew about, that I admired because they were older. I knew their reputations. One guy that was Morgan Tenney, was he Dad's age? But he was taking those hard classes, and he's the one that should have gotten the academic award. He's dead.
That seems to be a theme.
It is.
What was your biggest challenge?
During college?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any.
What was your greatest pleasure?
Fitting in, I guess, and just being part of the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember specific stuff.
How about after college?
Well, then I got married.
Right. In terms of your personal life and the work that you were doing, that kind of stuff, what?
Well, after we got married, we went to Pendleton and worked in the pea cannery. We worked the night shift. Oh my gosh. Between 2 and 5 in the morning was sheer misery because you could not keep your eyes open. You couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I worked on the belt. And that's where the peas come down on a conveyor belt, and you try to pick out the trash and bugs and things like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes when it backed up so far, we just closed our eyes and went like that. So that's why people get junk in their peas.
From the night shift.
From the night shift. What was interesting to me about that was that, well, Dad worked in the canning part. I think he sealed the lids or something. But what I found out was that many companies had you put their labels on the peas. They would pick out a certain variety or grade, and you would can those peas and put their label on them.
Right.
All in the same factory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the factory belonged to our brother-in-law, Mylan Smith, so we could get a job there.
So was this while you were still in school, and this was like a summertime job?
This was a summertime job.
Okay.
When we got married in 1948, so we went up there that summer. The next summer, we didn't go back there. We came here, I think. And Dad worked as a grave digger with a pick and shovel. No backhoe. It was hard work.
I imagine.
Hot summer. Digging graves.
So if you think about your 20s and 30s, and again, personal and work as opposed to marriage and parenting, what was your biggest challenge?
All those kids, finally.
Was
From
it-
1952 on, it was taking care of children
Okay.
and trying to do a church job, getting enough sleep. That was the worst part. And it was hard to be nice with all that stuff.
All right. We'll come back. We'll come back around to parenting and
Okay.
marriage. Hang on. It's back on.
While we were at university, we went to the institute most of the time. At one point, we were in a regular ward. And I don't know whether it was the institute before we were married. I don't know. But anyway, there were lots of couples there that we interacted with while we were in Tucson. Mostly John and Melba Cosper. She's not dead, but she lost her mind. John says he's now the caregiver. He says, I don't know what women have been so worried about fixing all those meals. All you do is go to the store and buy a TV dinner and put it in the freezer and then put it in the microwave and put it on the table. But he said, my cute little redhead has lost her mind. Cute little redhead. When she was having her first baby, she was a cute little redhead. And when she was having her first baby and she was pregnant, she went in the grocery store and turned around and knocked off a whole row of bread. Couldn't bend over and pick it up.
Yep.
And they were cute.